Hello students, welcome back. Mr. Labour here. So in this video what we're going to do is we're going to continue learning our Visual Basic for Applications programming language, and what I want to do here now is introduce you to the concept of loops and an if statement, plus we'll be learning a few other little tricks as we go. So to start with, we'll get Excel open and we'll be starting a brand new blank workbook. So make sure that your developer toolbar is there, tab I mean. Now what we need to do is we need to go there and we'll start with a button, ActiveX control button, and we'll just put it on the screen. We'll double click to go through into our code, and you can see that we've written this piece of code already, and hopefully that you guys remember that this first line says when I click the button. Okay, so what we're going to do is I want to show you a loop to start with. So tab in or indent. Now the reason we do that is because it makes our code so much easier to read. When you get dozens or even hundreds of lines of code, if you have indented correctly, which you will learn more about that as we go along, it's going to make the code a lot easier to read. Okay, so this type of loop is called a for loop, and the syntax is we go for, and then we create a variable, and then we go equals, whoops, just one equals, 0, 2, and 5. Okay, and then I'll jump down onto the next line. I'm going to go down a few lines down to the bottom, and I'm going to write next. Okay, so basically what we've got here, I'm just going to put in when I click the button. Okay, then it is going to start running the code between the private sub and the end sub, where we've got this loop, and this loop is going to loop 5 times, or actually it's going to, 5 times. We might change that. We'll make it from 1 to 5. That makes a little bit more sense. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a message box up, and I'm just going to put a string in it called saying hello. Okay, so if everything works properly, now make sure we indent that. I'm just going to indent it a bit more. If everything works properly, what should happen is that we're going to see this message box say hello 5 times. So let's go back, we'll go into run mode, we'll click our button, and there's the message box. It says hello, and we go OK, and it says it again, 3, 4, 5, oh, it looks like it's 6 times. So that's what's going on. Okay, now let's get back to our code. So click on design mode, double click the button, takes me straight back to the code. Okay, so that showed 5 times. Now the next thing, what I want to do is I want to show you that this here is a variable, and what happens is that the variable goes into the first loop and it receives the number 1, and then it goes through down running this code, and then it comes back up and it receives the number 2, and it keeps going through to 5. So what I'm going to do now is put that message box back up, and I'm going to show you the number that is in count. Okay, so you will see what will happen. So we'll run it, and I go, and now it says 1, so count was 1, and now it's 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Okay, now we'll go back to design mode, we'll click back. So as you can see, that count is now receiving each number as it goes through the loop. Right, now what we're going to do now is we're going to just put that number into these cells here. So basically it should say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going down there. Okay, so remember, to get to those cells we need to write range and then open and then brackets, and then we need to put a string in here. Actually I'm going to do it slightly different, because we're going to put it into 1. Okay, dot value, and that's going to be equal to whatever count is. Now I'm also going to yeah, no, that's good. We'll leave it at that. We'll just comment that out. What we might do now is I'm going to put a debug the code here so that we can step through and we can actually see what's happening. And I'm also going to try to put this on one side of my screen and that on the other, so that we can see what's going on here a bit better. Okay, back to run mode. I click the button and it stops up here. Count is empty. I push F8. Count is now 1, and it's down here. Count is 1, and then if you watch over there, A1, you see we've got A1, the cell A1, and number 1 has gone into there. It's down here. Now this is a loop, and this is where you're going to see it's going to come back up to the top again. Oh, yeah, okay, it went up, it actually skipped, and it's come straight down here. So count is number 2, and that went in over there, and it keeps going around. It's actually skipping that. I thought it was going to stop there, but it hasn't. So count is 3, and then if I go F8, it's gone over there, and count is still 3, F8, and count is 4, etc. Okay, and now count is 5, and count is 5. Now we're only going up to 5 here, so you will see it now come back down to the end sub, and there we go. Okay, and that's the whole routine run. Right, so that's how a loop works, but we need to make it a little bit more interesting than that. So what we'll do is, what I want to do now is, rather than always put it into cell A1, I want to now loop down through each of these cells. So what we're going to need to do now is change this A1 to A2, A3, A4, A5, etc. And that's very simple, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 1 out there, and I'm now going to use the word AND, or the symbol AND symbol, and then remember count is number 1 now. So when we go count, which is 1, plus the A, it's going to be A1. So you will see now it will come down. I'll just delete that 5, and you will see I'm going to change that debug down to, actually, yeah, down to here. That will make a bit more sense. So I'll click the button, and count is 1. So 1 is going into, when we add A plus that count, that's going to be A1. So when I click F8, you can see now it's gone into that value there, went across here. Remember, it goes from the right to the left and into this cell, which was A1. Now I push F8. Now count is 2. So 2 will go into A2. And if you watch here, there you go, etc. Okay, and there you go, all the way down to 5. And I could change that up to 50, 5,000, 50,000, and it will it will loop all the way down. Now I suggest to you, do not put too high a number in there, because You could be sitting around for 5 or 10 minutes while your computer runs and does all of this, and it could even crash. So be careful what number you put in there. Okay, right. So I might actually just show you another little trick. I'm going to take that out. How we can make all of these values blank would simply be, I'm going to comment out this line. Okay, and I'm going to copy this and paste it in here, and as it's going down each cell, I'm going to put nothing in it. So therefore, I've just got empty quotes there. Okay, so now when we run it, you'll see it's all disappeared. So that's a good way of clearing all your cells out. Okay, right, we need to do a little bit more than that. So what I want to do now is to put a random number down in each of these cells. So to do that, what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to show you how to produce a random number, and we'll use our message box for that. And if you see RND, if we type RND and then some open, close round brackets. So here we go, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9. Now, okay, so this is good. You can see these are all random numbers, but what's happening is it's only producing a number between 0 and 1. So, I'm going to show you how to fix that. So what we need to do is, if we want a number up to, any number up to, say, 100, so what we'll do is, all we need to do is we just multiply the answer by 100. Okay, so that should now give us a number, any number up to 100, and you can see that it's working there really quite well. Okay, now actually, but we've still got a problem. What's happening now is it's giving us a decimal placing. So to fix that, what we need to do is we need to, I'm going to show you. Right, so we need to enclose all of this inside another function, which is going to be called an int function, that is going to return us just a set number. Okay, so this should now truly work and give us any number between 0 and 100. So 67, 95, 90, 64, 82. Perfect. So that's how we return a random number. Now, getting back to what we're trying to do, we're trying to put a random number into these cells down here. Okay, so this is, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to comment out this line, and I'm going to now use this here. Actually, what we'll do is we will create another variable. So we'll just call it RAND, and then that will be equal to our number that we're generating. Here's the random number, which is going to produce a number between 0 and 1. If we multiply it by 100, that will produce a number between 0 and 100. And then if we turn it into an integer, that is going to get rid of all of our decimal places. And then we're going to put it into that variable. And all we need to do then is use this code here, which is going to allow us to put that number into these cells. So when I click it, the button, you can see now that we've got these numbers into this cell. Okay, so you guys make sure that you've got that working, and then we're going to go on and do the learn about an if. Right, okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to learn the if statement. You guys have learned how to do a loop, where we start off with that line, we finish with this line. Now we're going to learn how to use an if statement. So what we're going to do is, if this number here is greater than 50, we're going to put over here the text. I'll just type it greater than 50. Okay? And if it's less than 50, we will put less than 50. Okay? So that's what we're trying to do. And if it's equal to 50, then we'll sort that problem out later. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do. Right, so what we need to do, actually, first of all, I'll get you guys, I don't know if you've got it, but you can click this button here and that'll give me a bit more space. So, we've put our random number, we generated our random number using that, we put it into there, which is a variable, we've taken that variable and we've put it into our a plus the count. Okay, now we're going to learn to use the if. So we start off with if, and what happens is we write if, and this is the number that we're actually testing, the rand. So we can go rand is greater than 50, then, and now watch what happens when I push the enter key. Oh, it hasn't done it. Okay, that's surprising. So you need to write end if down the bottom. Okay, so what's going to happen now is the computer is going to test to see if this random number is greater than 50. And if it is, then, now indent, in this cell here, which is B1, so we'll write range, open brackets, quote, B, end quote, and the count, because the count's going to keep going down the row, dot value, you need to write that, equals, and now we're going to put a string greater than 50. Okay, and that's all we need to do. So if the random number is greater than 50, then in the cell B plus whatever the count is, which is going to be the row, write greater than 50. Okay, let's see if it works. So we're going to take these off. I'm going to take these out just so that you guys can see it's all going to run. And I'm going to click the button, and 24, it didn't write anything because it's less than 50. 53, if the random number is greater than 50, yes, 53 is greater than 50. So therefore, write in there that it is greater than 50. Okay, same with 97, not with 18, same with 62. Right, so I'm not going to do this, but what I suggest you guys do now, I'm going to delete that, is put a break, debug from here, run your code, and count and watch, go F8, and the random number is 96 at the moment. Is 96 greater than 50? Yes, it is. So therefore it will go down and do this part here, which it is doing, and then you will see that it puts greater than 50 in. And then we go back up to the here again, we generate another random number, which is 17. We're in row 2 or count 2. The random number is 17. Is 17 greater than 50? The answer is no. So therefore it's not going to do this. And it goes straight down to here and etc. Okay? So there we go. I'm going to remove that now. Run the code, and none of those numbers ended up being greater than 50, so nothing was there. Right, you guys get it? So what I'm going to do now is let you write another if statement under here, I'll start it off. If, okay, if it's less than 50, to write less than 50. That is a quick little task for you guys to do. And then after you've done that task, I want you to write a third if statement. If the number actually is equal to 50, you need to write something appropriate in here. And then what we'll do is I'll get you guys to change that number to 50. So we're going to do 50 rows. Save your work, hand it in, and and hopefully I can see that you guys have all done it correctly. Okay, all the best you guys. We'll see you in the next video.